Minutes late. They're all lying. What am I talking about? All of them. Remember the great Gary Oldman in the movie The Professional? Bring me everyone. What? Who? Everyone. They're all lying. Thune is lying. Mike Lee, as great a job as he's trying to do, he's not being honest. It is not the Democrats, it's the Republicans, it's Thune. Mamdami is lying about grocery stores. Fauci, turns out, he was lying about everything. Okay, they're all lying. And who isn't lying? Trump. And what's the one thing that the TDS sufferers have been convinced of? Trump's the only one who's lying, and everyone else is telling the truth. We're going to get into it today. This is The Ordinary American. I'm your host, Paul Sarkis, and I am, some days just show prep alone, just brings out, it's like the Hulk brings out heavy P. Okay, this is the level of lies was this Fauci stuff. We're going to go through the Fauci stuff. We're going to go through the Mamdami stuff. We're going to go through some Thune stuff. I want to start with some Trump stuff. Okay, Trump, let me pull it up. Trump does what he usually does, which is he goes, oh, you know what? That's not true. Let me go to Thune first. Okay, Thune was on Hannity last night, and he had a whole bunch of nonsense to say. Again, here's the basic premise. The Save America Act makes it so that you have to be a proven American citizen to vote, and you need to show a photo ID at the polls. Everything else you've been told is lie. By the way, it also does the trans stuff. We'll skip that for now and just focus on the voter stuff. Okay, obviously, men shouldn't play in men shouldn't play in women's sports. Okay, the filibuster. Let's go over this again. The filibuster is a rule that says you have a debate and that the debate can't end until everybody stops debating. That's what it says. So Mr. Smith goes to Washington, etc. You debate, you got to stay on there. There's some rules. You can offer amendments. We're going to get into that. Thune is lying about that. And then all that happens is debate ends and all you need is 51 votes. The only reason to need the 60 vote cloture is what it's called, stupid fancy word, supermajority, 60 votes, is to end debate. So essentially you're shutting down the minority. You're saying we're not going to let you speak anymore with 60 votes. Okay? Right now, John Thune can open up the whole thing to the filibuster and run with it and let it happen. And yes, there are some rules that have to be followed. And yes, most of them are uncomfortable. Why? It's designed to foster debate. It's designed to get these people to earn their keep. So they have to put up arguments and we can listen nowadays. Okay, that's what it's designed for. When the Civil Rights Bill passed, which Thune lied about, he said it didn't include the filibuster. Yes, it did. Okay, they debated it. And at the beginning, they were like 30 votes away. And then they got it because they debated and they debated. And maybe it was because they didn't want to stay in the Capitol anymore. They had appointments. Maybe it was because the principle of the thing. Who knows? But whatever it was, there was a compromise and it passed. That's the point. Or, as we'll see what Trump's going to say, get rid of the filibuster. Well, why would you do that? It seems like a valuable tool. Well, yeah, it is. But the Democrats have already told us they're going to get rid of it. They're going to get rid of it. So everything's just a 50-51 vote. Everything done. That's it. And when they get rid of it, they've said they're going to pack the Supreme Court. They're going to add 2 more states, the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, which they believe they'll get 4 more Democrat votes in the Senate. Okay. They're going to change everything. So what Trump is saying is, don't wait, just beat them to it. Just do it now, and then we can get our bills passed. Is it in a perfect world, would it be best to keep the filibuster? Maybe. We don't live in that world. We're in this world. And in this world, the Democrats have told us this is what they're going to do. And you heard the Democrat Socialists of America, who we played just yesterday, the day before, saying they want to get rid of the president. They want to get rid of the Senate. They want to get rid of the Supreme Court. They don't want to pack the Supreme Court. They want to eliminate it. Okay? They want to get rid of borders. They want to get rid of prisons. This is what they will be able to do when they get rid of the filibuster. So Trump is saying we ought to beat them to it. Okay, I want to play Thune. Thune, as we have said before, let me see if I can back it up just a little bit. Thune is the Senate Majority Leader. Little review. The Senate Majority Leader only gets to be in that position because he's a stone cold savage when it comes to power. And if you remember back with Harry Reid, when you saw Harry Reid operate, you weren't vague about the fact that he would do anything for his bills to get passed. Okay? The Senate Majority Leader wields unbelievable power. The power to put you on a committee, the power to give you certain office space, the power to give you a bigger budget for your staff, the power to help you raise money or hurt you when raising money, the power to put you on committees or take you off committees, the power to blacklist you in and among the Washington elite and crowd. He has carrots and sticks. The reason that Mike Lee won't come out and say what I'm saying is because Mike Lee is in the Senate and knows that John Thune can do this to him. That's the proof that John Thune has this power. Nobody becomes a Senate Majority Leader if they can't whip the vote for an 84% approval rating bill. This guy is lying. Let's listen to this a little bit.
The floor, real filibuster versus the Lindsey Graham method, which was he thought you could do it through reconciliation.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and I think probably the best path to success is through budget reconciliation. And we can't do everything in budget reconciliation, but we can do parts of it. The one thing about the talking filibuster, and it hasn't been used in something like 100 years. People
Not
point
true.
to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but that it actually was done under regular order. They invoked cloture, passed it that way.
Not true.
But you turn control of the floor over to the Democrats. It's not only unlimited debate, it's unlimited amendments. And the Democrats will have a long list of amendments. And so every time they get an amendment, get it considered, gets disposed of, the clock resets. Every Democrat can give 2 hours of speeches. So that's 47 or times 2, 94 hours of speeches. And then every time you have a vote on an amendment, you go back, start all over again.
So what? So what? What's he worried about? He's worried about getting to a vacation? We're talking about the elections in our country that are corrupted, and we know they are corrupted. And he's worried about 94 hours? This guy is a liar. He is a traitor. He is a traitor. This is not, it was first of all, it's not true what he said. You can look it up. Go look it up yourself. Okay, it's not special. Go use AI and look it up and see if you think he was telling the truth. That's for starters. Second, so what if they offer amendments? Yeah, that's true. They can. And you have the majority and you can vote them down unless you want to vote them in. Why would you want to vote their crazy policies in? By the way, you can also offer amendments.
So the Democrats, this is something that they're salivating over the opportunity to have, is a talking filibuster. So that isn't the best path in my view. And frankly, I don't think we probably have the votes in the Senate among Republicans even to get on a talking filibuster.
But you hear him? He thinks we probably don't. Talk about wishy-washy. He knows exactly, if he's doing his job right, and he's a smart guy because he got this position, he knows exactly where the votes are, and he knows whether he has them.
But I do think we have a possibility through budget reconciliation to get some of this done.
If you could go either way, are you as leader, are you trying to work with the rest of the Senate to get it done?
We are, and I think, we've had it up now. It was a pending business in the Senate for over 2 weeks, late February, early March. We had 5 votes on it. We voted on photo ID. We voted on photo ID and citizenship to register. We voted on the entire Save Act 2 different times. And we also voted on no boys and girls sports. So we've had 5 votes, portions of or all of the Save America Act. The problem we have is we have no Democrats. The Democrats block voted against it, in spite of the fact that there are at least a dozen Democrats, and I have the quotes, who have come out publicly and said they're for photo ID. But when they actually got a chance to put up or shut up on the floor of the Senate, they all voted no.
Let's talk about the radicalization of this Democratic Party. Graham Plattner.
We might play a little bit of that, but he's trying to get it off of himself. The Republicans have the majority majority. What is it, 53? 53 or 54, I forget. But they have the majority. He doesn't need the Democrats if he can whip his vote, which he can. Okay? And he has J.D. Vance in the wings if he needs him on deck to break a tie. So he can lose 3 people on his side. And he might be able to get Fetterman. And he already said just there was a few people, I think he said there was 12, that said they were for photo ID. So let's get it to a vote. If they're for it and you start with the filibuster, there'll be a debate. Let's wait and see how it goes. Again, what's the title of today's show? They're all lying. This is a joke. There should be no debate about this. This shouldn't be a conversation. No person should be voting in our election without proving that they are an American citizen. And no voter should be able to go to a poll without showing a photo ID. It is an absolute stone cold racist point of view to suggest to Black Americans that they can't figure out how to get a photo ID. 94% of voting age Black people already have a photo ID. So somehow the Democrats are now so racist, Woodrow Wilson style, that they don't think that the Black Americans can figure out how to bring their photo ID to the polls. I don't understand how any Black American votes Democrat. Lying, all of them. Let's just play a little bit more of this before we head off.
Now, as a replacement, El Sayed in Michigan. I call him 6-gender Tellerico in Texas. Good luck there. And of course, by championing the rights of biological men to have access to abortion, and God is non-binary. Not things I thought we'd be debating in such an important midterm election year.
Correct. And they are so far out of the mainstream. And you look at Texas, for example, and Tallarico and some of those positions. I mean, it's like, where is this coming from? This is a Democrat Party that has really lost its identity. They have moved so far left. And of course, you've got, people who are openly out there espousing and endorsing socialism, which is why you have the Democrat Socialists of America now. And some of these positions that you mentioned that the candidate in Maine has, I mean, these are positions that if we have good candidates and we resource them, we ought to be able to beat the Democrats and beat them badly. But we've got to make sure that we're out there talking about how we contrast with them and defining them. I mean, these guys try and get away with, Tallarico's trying to get away with, portraying himself as a moderate in Texas. He is anything but that. He is a far left liberal in every way. And
the reason why I'm playing this is 2 reasons. One, to me, this guy is so unimpressive. He hasn't said a single substantive thing in that whole speech. He just finished telling us that they don't have the votes and we don't want to have the Democrats be able to talk or offer amendments. He switches to this and says the Democrats are way out of touch with America. They're far left socialists and they have policies that nobody wants. So what are you afraid of? Let them speak. Get the filibuster going. The more they speak, the worse they do. That's essentially what he's saying. He's saying contradictory things because he's lying. Okay? Because he's lying. It is infuriating. This guy, Mike Lee, has some great stuff on X. I'm not going to put it up because there's some other things I want to get to. But he does a ton. I'm critical of him because he doesn't attack Thune. I get it. He's got to work in that system. I said before Trump named Thune directly. Trump is much more of a statesman and smarter than I need to be. I'm just a guy who loves my God, my family, my country, and with a great flag and turned on the camera. So I don't have to operate in there. Trump needs to get a lot of things done. Okay? So he's got to be careful of how he treats and how badly he hurts some of these people. And he can hurt these people badly, as we've seen with his track record of whatever it is, 100 and something and in this election cycle with his endorsements. Okay? But this guy, Thune, if I still have it, I'll see when we're playing the next thing. If I still have his, I have his office phone number up. I want to get it and put it up again. I put it on the X thread yesterday, The Ord American. Okay. I want to go to Trump now on the plane. There's a few things I want to play on this to make a couple of different points about Trump. He's the only one who's not lying. all of you TDS sufferers, all of you people who have been trained to think that Trump is the devil. I want to take a quick detour talking about this. When Trump was running in 2016, my daughter was in, I don't know, I think it was third grade or something. And there were a couple of kids who came to school on the day after election and couldn't stop crying and were just inconsolable all day, filled with fear and anxiety. They actually had to go home, I believe. Why? Because those idiot parents filled those kids with fear, saying that Donald Trump is a devil, and if he gets in, the world's going to end. We can't let Trump in. Trump's the devil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those poor kids listened to their parents and said, uh-oh, this is bad. And they got so scared. That's bad parenting, and that's TDS. That is somebody who was so infected in the brain, and these people were very smart. They were so infected in the brain that they needed to co-opt their kids under some weird cloak of they have to know what's coming. What's come? Now their kids grow up and will look back and say, I went to fourth grade and fifth grade and sixth grade and nothing happened. If he's the devil, why didn't he do devil things? My life is better. Things are going better. That's TDS. So if you're somebody out there who doesn't understand that Trump's the only one who's advocating for ordinary Americans. We said yesterday we're going to do a little bit of it today, I hope. I want to get to some Promethean action again. Young people who vote leftist, you have been tricked. You're right about the problem. The system's rigged. You're wrong about how and who rigged it, and you're wrong about the path out. This guy is the path out, and all of you and me and all the other ordinary Americans. Let's play a little of this.
Morning about Leader John Thune. What's your relationship like with the Senate Majority Leader?
It's fine. He's got to get his job done. It's fine. I have a good relationship with John Thune. He's just got to get his job done. You got to get the Save America Act passed. Or better than that would be the filibuster. If you terminate the filibuster, everything happens. If you don't terminate the filibuster, only bad things will happen. If you don't terminate the filibuster, only bad things will happen.
But you don't want to see him replaced as leader?
I haven't even thought of it.
He hasn't even thought about it. He didn't say no. Okay, you can be sure he's thought of it. Let's just go back 1 second to John Thune and the reconciliation nonsense. Reconciliation is a budgetary process. You have to have money involved with it. And so there's $10 billion of our tax dollars going into the budget around the Save America Act if it goes through reconciliation. If the bill goes through itself, you don't need $10 billion of our money. There's $10 billion going into it. Another way that the elected class steals our money. And it's also voluntary. So do you think the Democrat states are going to bother to implement it? Of course not. Of course not.
Prime Minister Netanyahu tomorrow. Why did you ask?
Listen to this.
Why did you ask for that meeting? And are you guys on the same page on Iran? Are you on the same page on Iran, you and Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Yeah, pretty close. We have a little difference, but pretty close, yeah. You know, Iran took a beating over the last.
Why I wanted to show that. This is how you know that he's telling you the truth and everybody else is lying. They just asked him, if you couldn't hear it, they just asked him, why'd you call for this meeting with Netanyahu, and are you on the same page as Netanyahu? And what was his response? His response was a realistic, well, mostly. That's realistic. Not all, but mostly. And now he's going to go into some things about Iran. That's not what you usually get from a politician. That's not. You don't usually get what he just said about the Save America Act, as clear as day. It would be better to get rid of the filibuster and then we can get everything passed. By the way, Thune doesn't want to do that because he does not want to pass the Trump agenda. He hates Trump. He's doing the bidding of McConnell and whoever else is behind him. They don't want to pass the Trump agenda. They're doing as little as possible.
Last 14 days. And they asked us very nicely, please stop. Let's meet. And that's what we are right now. We'll see what happens. If we don't make a deal, we go back to the same thing.
President Zelensky says that Russia is giving Iran satellite imagery of U.S. bases in the Gulf to help them target. What can you do about that?
Well, we'll find out if that's true. I'll ask Putin about it. We'll find out.
Again, you see that? Calm. We'll find out. I'll ask Putin. By the way, that's not the only way he'll find out, but he'll ask Putin directly. We talk about this with the American system, sovereign nations dealing direct with each other. He's going to pick up the phone and he's going to say, Putin, are you doing that? Putin may lie to him. Trump's not an idiot, but he's going to ask him, keep a dialogue going. Get close. You don't hear that, certainly not from many presidents. And they wouldn't be talking to foreign leaders as much. We could probably do the research. I could probably look it up. I don't know how many times Biden spoke to Putin during his 4 years in office. But I'll bet you in his 4 years, it was less than Trump speaks to Putin in a month.
Hasn't had much impact because we've knocked the hell out of it, what do you think? If that's the case, look, they gave Venezuela a lot of equipment. Venezuela had all Russian equipment. How did that work out? Not too good. So they may be giving, but if they are, it hasn't worked out because they have no Army, they have no Air Force, they have no Navy, they have no nothing. So it hasn't worked out well. I don't think they've been doing it, certainly not at a high level. And if they have, it has been very unimpactful.
Okay, this is why Trump is so great. That reporter started off mentioning Zelensky. Zelensky says this, that Putin's giving weapons to Iran. You see that? You see that triangle? Zelensky, who we've anointed, even though, by the way, he's a tyrant. He's been operating under martial law for 6 years? No elections, okay, in the corrupt capital of the world. So the reporter is trying to say, see, Zelensky, the good guy, says that Putin, the bad guy, has been helping the other bad guys. You should be worried about it. What did Trump do? We'll find out. I'll call Putin. And then you could see he was thinking. And then he said, oh, you know what? Didn't work out very well. What's that a message to? That's a message to every other country that's thinking about taking weapons from Russia. Doesn't work against us. Take them if you want. Pay for them. But it won't stop us. Russia's out trying to sell equipment to make money and to build relationships. And now he's got Trump, who's got a platform to say, good luck. How'd that work out? You sold them to Maduro. What do you think the conversation, the sales conversation is between some dictator somewhere and the Russians when the Russians say, hey, buy our equipment? You think they're going to play this and say, hey, Trump says yours didn't work out very well. And they snatched Maduro out of his bedroom in 6 hours. He was in New York. Your systems? This is Trump. This is Trump.
Reports that the United States has taken in $13 billion from Venezuela. Where is that money going?
$13 billion from Venezuela? I think even more than that. No, Venezuela, we paid for that war many times over. And that'll happen with Iran also. We paid for the war many times over.
But where is that money going?
Which, by the way, no other president can say that for a long time. Okay? When was the last president that could say that? So we had a cost of Venezuela. We paid for it many, many times over. And now, as you know, we have a very good relationship with Venezuela.
But where is that money going?
Who's toward running the country?
No, it's the U.S. The money that the U.S. is taking in. Where is that money going?
Venezuela?
Yes.
Toward running the country. It can go to the military. Congress has to approve it. Congress doesn't like approving money for the military. They like giving it to things that shouldn't be done. But we're taking in a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars from Venezuela. That'll happen with Iran too.
There it is again. This is the brilliance of Trump. She thinks she's got this I gotcha question. We're taking in $13 billion from Venezuela. What's going on with that? Or where's that money going? He just turns it around and says, amen. Correct. We made $13 billion. I bet you the whole operation didn't cost $1 billion. Okay, 13x in less than a year. That's what he's saying. because he looks at things that way, as he should. Because when we go take the risk, and there was risk that we would have lost a lot of men on that raid, we should be rewarded. And now we are. Now, what she doesn't do is what she should do. She should ask, where does that money come from? She should be saying, is that oil money? So are we taking it all and the Venezuelan people aren't getting it, or how is it working? She should be asking, what's your relationship with Delcy Rodriguez? Is there going to be a regime change? She can't think straight because she's a retard TDS person.
Since you said that Iranian assets will be used to pay for damages to ships that are hit in the Strait of Hormuz. Would the U.S. pay shipping companies directly?
No, we're going to use Iran's money to pay for the damage they did. In other words, the Iran money that we control will be used to pay for damages. Sound good? Not bad, right? We should be rewarded. Okay. Any other questions?
We're gonna get off of Trump for a minute, but I could play this all day because I love listening to him. Okay. What's he saying? He's saying we got smart leadership, and he's answering the questions. Yeah, we're going to take the money. We're going to take the money and we're going to pay for the damage that it cost us and for the cost of the war. Yeah, we're going to do that. That's Trump. That's how you know that he's not the liar. Go listen to a Thune. Go listen to, here in a second, we'll play Mamdami, Fauci, Pelosi, Biden, Hakeem Jeffries, any of them. All lying. Just stealing our money. Trillions a year, by the way. Trillions. Let's not forget. Doge found 4.7 trillion of untraceable outflows from the Treasury General account a year. 4.7 trillion untraceable. Why were they untraceable? Because the elected class in the swamp did not want it traceable because they want to be able to steal our money with total disregard. That's why. Doge came in and fixed it, and now if we want it to be, it's traceable. How much of that 4.7 trillion was theft? Why shouldn't we assume it was near all of it? Why? Because the government's shown such a restraint in stealing our money? 4.7 trillion a year. They're all lying. NGOs, voter fraud, nonprofits, stealing our money. All right. I want to go to, I got to find it in here. I want to go to the Fauci stuff. Oh man, I would love to play that. I don't think I can. Oh, you know what? I really probably should have played this at the beginning. This sort of ties in the Schoolhouse Rock. You might remember Schoolhouse Rock. It was a series of videos meant to promote patriotism and an understanding of civics and whatnot in America. They had one about the bill. They had a whole bunch of them. They did a bunch on punctuation and other things. Schoolhouse Rock. It was rock videos about education. One of them that I loved the most was called the Preamble. It is a song about the preamble to the Constitution. And when my daughter was young and we would have a fairly long drive to and from her school, I used to look for songs like this to be able to play, and she loved it and I loved it. So I want to play it because it's actually very educational and it's a great tune. So I would encourage any artist out there, find a way to make a modern version of this, a hard rock version or a medium rock version. It's great music and it's a great message and you learn something. And I'm going to stop it in here a couple of times because there's a couple of major key points.
Hey, do you know about the USA? Do you know about the government? Can you tell me about the Constitution? Hey, learn about the USA. In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers did agree to write a list of principles for keeping people free. The USA was just starting out, a whole brand new country. And so our people spelled it out, the things that we should be. And they put those principles down on paper and called it the Constitution. And it's been helping us run our country ever since then. The first part of the Constitution is called the Preamble and tells what those founding fathers set out to do. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union.
A more perfect union, an acknowledgement that it can't be perfect. A more perfect union.
Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility.
Domestic tranquility requires justice. That's get rid of crime in a healthy way.
Provide for the common defense. Promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. To ourselves and our posterity do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
See that last piece of it? It talks about our obligation, and part of the reason why we made the Constitution, we didn't make it, why they made the Constitution, was so that we could do something great for the people who come after us, our posterity. Okay, it's not just what can I get here and now. This is part of the American system, building something. It's not just what do I get today. It's how do I take this inheritance that I get as an American and make it better so that the people that come after me, whether I have children or not, have something even better than I had. Let's keep playing it.
1787, I'm told our founding fathers all sat down and wrote a list of principles that's known the world around. The USA was just starting out, a whole brand new country. And so our people spelled it out. They wanted a land of liberty. And the preamble goes like this. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, and she's got her child there. That is the key thing I want to take away from this. That is the key thing. And I love the song, as you can tell. It's a great song. Play it for your kids. Any artists out there, maybe I'll try with AI to make it into a more of a rock song. But this is what we used to teach. This is what we used to teach. This is what used to be on TV. Now what do? We have to have a bill that says only American citizens can vote when it's already illegal. There's just no teeth in it, so it can't be enforced. We did a whole show on that. Or we have to make a bill that says men can't play in women's sports. Excuse me? This is what we used to do. It's infuriating. All right, great song. Highly recommend you go listen to it. Play it for your kids. Somebody should make something special out of that. All right. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for next. I want to go through, because I think that the Fauci stuff. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to play this one. Hold on. The setup for Fauci. Everybody knows it now. His diary. By the way, I had a question. How did we get his diary? Well, it turns out, I hope I have this right. Margot Cleveland's where I read this. RFK Jr. had the diary. They found it in some digital files that were described as purposefully hidden so nobody would find them. I don't know if that means digitally or physically, but he found them in there. I don't still know why his diary is part of the government's record. He's a retard, which goes to show why he should never have been in this position in the first place. And I say this all the time about Fauci. Gay Americans, go do your research, you young people, and study Fauci, AIDS, HIV, and all the nonsense he was up to back then. And you tell me after you study that, if you really think that the government isn't lying to you about everything to do with your health. And in this particular case, the Democrats are protecting this guy. Okay? You look and see. Go and look at it. There's a book written about it. Okay? It was when he was early in the job, and he's been obsessed with this idea of vaccines since back then, and a lot of people have died. Now we find out from his diary that he lied about everything. People like me didn't need confirmation. We knew it. But there's that great scene from Tequila Sunrise when Nick Freesia, played by Kurt Russell, the great Kurt Russell, is talking to Mel Gibson playing Dale McCusick. And Nick Freesia says, "You can't pretend you weren't caught. I caught you." These guys can't pretend they're not caught. Fauci says in there, yeah, it probably came from the lab, and then went out and lied and told us that it was some wet market. Okay, he lied about how dangerous it was. He increased it when he's in this thing. He's also yapping about how famous he is. He lied. He has immunity now, for better or for worse. So when he goes up in front of Congress, which I think is tomorrow, if it's going to be just another, show where we're going to get some good sound bites and I'll play some blah, 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 nothing happens, useless. He has immunity. He cannot take the fifth. There are tons of great prosecutors who know exactly how to phrase these questions. You have to get the information from him. You can make him throw up all over himself and give away everybody below him and adjacent to him. Did he talk to Biden? Who else did he talk to? What senators did he talk to? I would want to know how many senators, how many congressmen, how many people in the Biden administration knew, for example, that you knew that it came from the lab. Okay? All right. We're going to put this up. I believe this is from the great Kenny Okoa. What's his site? Kenny Koa, the great. I assume he's from Hawaii. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't know how many times I can say it, Madam Chair. We did not fund gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
In our health lead, we now know that a bat coronavirus was enhanced in a lab.
NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute.
The National Institutes of Health acknowledged that it funded research of a virus that was studied at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The experiment unexpectedly, we're told, made a bat coronavirus more contagious than the original naturally occurring one.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement.
A new letter raising questions about experiments in a Wuhan lab.
Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about.
For years, the National Institutes of Health provided grant money to the EcoHealth Alliance Research Group, which conducted experiments with bat coronaviruses in Wuhan, China.
And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well, wait a minute.
It did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility.
It's unbelievable. The title of the show, they're lying. He lied. He was not truthful. How do you have to say it? He lied. And people died. I don't know how this guy, he got immunity, from the auto pen. Sorry, I couldn't think of it. From the auto pen. Okay, he got it from the auto pen. Here's by the way, here's a contrast with that. Okay, here's a contrast with that. You'll be shocked to know who I'm going to put on the screen now. I know, facetious alert. Okay.
To find out. There was a study recently that we can make available to you where a group of highly qualified investigation into whether the virus escaped from this lab in Wuhan. How active is that? And we're looking at it. A lot of people are looking at it. It seems to make sense. They talk about a certain kind of bat, but that bat wasn't in that area. If you can believe this, that's what they're down to now is bats. But that bat is not in that area. That bat wasn't sold at that wet zone. It wasn't sold there. That bat is 40 miles away. So a lot of strange things are happening, but there is a lot of investigation going on, and we're going to find out. There was a study recently that we can make available to you where a group of highly qualified evolutionary virologists looked at the sequences there and the sequences in bats as they evolve. And the mutations that it took to get to the point where it is now is totally consistent with a jump of a species from an animal to a human. So, I mean, the paper will be available. I don't have the authors right now, but we can make that available too.
He's lying the whole way. What is May? This is the great Mays Moore. Yeah, Fauci comes in, claims that the virus was most likely natural occurrence. Trump was called a conspiracy theorist. Fauci was called a truth teller, and Fauci was lying. Okay, there's an endless stream. By the way, go on Mays Moore, go on the Kanekoa, the great X account. They're in my thread. Okay, there's just an endless stream of awesome videos of contrasting this stuff. I'm going to find right now. I want to play this absolute retard, Mamdami. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I don't know this site. Okay. How much? Let me just take a look here. Yeah, they got a lot of people. ASIN. I don't know these guys, but let's put them up. This is retard Mamdami. Only people who are more retarded than him are the ones who listen to him.
For many New Yorkers, 30% at the grocery store means something very different. Since 2019, food prices have soared at grocery stores around the country by roughly 30%, in fact. Talk to shoppers around the city, and you'll often hear the same frustration. Wages have not kept up. Making matters even worse, some corporations have built out technology that allows for something called surveillance pricing, collecting personal data to charge some people more than others for the same carton of eggs, for the same gallon of milk. All of this leaves too many New Yorkers feeling like groceries are out of reach. And that is frankly unacceptable, which is why city government is stepping in to make people's lives more affordable. Today, I am proud to announce a collection of essential staples that will be predictably 30% cheaper at all 5 of our city-run grocery stores.
30% cheaper, just miraculously. By the way, let's just take a note of a couple of things. Who put together this visual? They got the black woman, which is important to Democrats, standing behind this guy, and you got 2 Asian women. I'm sure these people are important people in city government. I don't know what they're doing. Look at her, cheerleader. Look at this one, sourpuss, and she's standing behind him. This is a terrible visual, whoever the idiot is who put this together, okay? 30%, just gonna be 30% cheaper. How? They're just gonna make it happen because they're tyrants. I mean, he gets applause.
This core set of goods will include all fresh produce, meat, and seafood, along with 20 other essential items like cheese, milk, and bread. Here's how it will work. Once a month, our 5 city-run grocery stores will set prices for this core set of goods at 30% below typical retail prices. No exceptions, no gimmicks. The savings will last for the entire month. That means no weekly fluctuations nor sticker shock at the checkout line. Not for our seniors living on fixed incomes, nor for the parents who rely on a regular supply of apple slices to keep toddler tantrums at bay. Now
he goes into the stupid thing with the bananas or the plantains. Okay, young people, you cannot afford to be retarded enough to believe this stuff. He is somehow. No one ever thought of this? You can just lower prices by 30% and everything's okay? No one ever thought of this. If you want to get into deep in my opinion, interesting economics. The problem with leftism is there's no ability to price anything. You can't just pick a price. Let's take fish. Fish is going to be 30% cheaper, he says. Who's he buying the fish from? Are they going to sell it at 30% cheaper? How are they going to do that? Do they have more than a 30% margin? What do you think they got? 60%? 80% markup? Then they're just going to take less? What about produce? What's going to happen? How are they going to get the someone is fishing for the fish. Someone is farming for the produce. Someone is milking the cows. You're just going to tell them 30% off. And there's going to be no fallout? People, you can't be this retarded. The world doesn't work that way. It would be wonderful if it were true that you could just pick your price. Because of course we'd pick free. By the way, nobody asks him, why only 30%? Why not 40%? Why not 50%? Or for that matter, why not 90% cheaper? Nobody asks them that because the people who could know what the answer will likely be. Oh, well, the business couldn't afford to sell it to me cheaper than that. He tied it. This is why he did this. He tied it to the inflation number because he's making the assumption, he's assuming you're too stupid to figure this out, that 100% of inflation is just some farmer deciding that they're just going to one day wake up and charge 30% more. That's not how it works. Leftism doesn't have to think. They just say things. 30% cheaper. Here's how it works. All they're going to do is they're going to be like China. What do I mean they're going to be like China? China dumps cheap goods on American markets, furniture, steel, whatever. It doesn't matter. Why? It's subsidized. If the real product should cost $1, the Chinese government says, I'll pay 50 cents of it, put it on the market at 50 cents. And now it goes on the market at 50 cents, and what happens? We buy that cheap product. And what happens to the American manufacturers? They can't cut 50% out of their price. So they end up going out of business. And then the Chinese are able to raise the price, get rid of those jobs, hurt us because those jobs go away. Okay? That's what he's going to do. All he's going to do is he's going to take that taxpayer money that's running. By the way, government grocery stores means your money is going to build and run grocery stores. It can't do anything else right. It can't do the DMV right. It can't do the post office right. It can't do Amtrak right. It can't do anything right. Total fraud and theft, trillions of dollars a year stolen, nonprofits, other things. The Somalis come in here and can barely speak the language, but they can figure out how to steal our money from Medicaid and from home health care scams and SNAP programs and everything else. And suddenly the government's going to run a grocery store right. Go talk to somebody who runs a grocery store and try to figure out how difficult it is. Or next time you're in a grocery store, just look around and look at the inventory. Here's the problem and the hard part with a grocery store. The inventory comes in and it's on the clock. Unless it's a dry good. What do I mean? It's going to spoil. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's a few days. It's on the clock. And it can walk out the back door, as my dad used to say. And they're suddenly going to be able to do it. How are they going to do it? They're going to take your money. They're going to buy the groceries. Those people who sell the fish or sell the produce, the farmer, the fisherman, they aren't going to sell it at 30% cheaper. They're going to get their price because they're not going to just go out of business or sell it. They just won't sell to these guys. So what's going to happen? They're going to have to take your tax dollars and pay full price for that. And then they're going to turn around, drop the price because they say they're going to drop the price, 30% and sell it. What's that going to do? They're going to go out of business. Oh, wait a second. They don't have to go out of business. They're just going to take more of your money. You can't sell $1 worth of product for 70 cents, 30% off, and expect to stay into business unless you have an endless stream of capital coming from the suckers, you and me. That's what they're going to do. What are some of the secondary byproducts of this? Well, What do you think is going to happen to all the other grocery stores that are trying to sell that fish or that product for the full dollar? Well, people are going to go buy the cheaper one. Let's assume it's similar quality. They're going to go buy the cheaper one. So what's going to happen to that grocery store? No, they're not going to be able to compete. Why? Because the government is their competitor, and the government's taking your tax dollars and artificially lowering the price. They are distorting the market the same way they do in housing, the same way they do in medicine, in education, in every industry that the government gets involved in. And what's going to happen? The grocery stores in New York that are legitimate grocery stores are going to start to close, and they're going to go away. He's only going to have 5 of these things. And they're going to find out that instead of increasing people's ability to get food, they're going to decrease it massively. And all the wealthy people who want to vote leftist and get invited to the Mean Girls party because they're too scared to stand up to them are going to send their nannies and their shoppers across the bridge to New Jersey, or get the groceries in Connecticut at their Connecticut house and drive them back. And they're going to get them out of state. And then they're going to beg everybody, don't say anything to anybody. Don't say anything to anybody. And what's going to happen is the working people in Manhattan and the other boroughs, wherever these things are going to be, they're going to have a harder time getting food because all of this food's going to go very quickly. Why? Because it's cheaper. If I can buy my fish for 30% cheaper, I'm probably going to do it. It's not really 30% cheaper. It's just your tax dollars are going to that, which, by the way, what's that mean for you? Your taxes are going to go up because a city can't print money. The federal government can print money. The city can't. They're just going to have to raise the taxes. They're lying to you. The theme of the show today, I'm watching the clock. I know we got to stop. Okay. They are lying to you. It is one. Go watch the great Paul Newman, Robert Redford. There's the guy who plays the old curmudgeon fisherman from Jaws. I can't remember. Robert Shaw, I think his name is, in The Sting. Okay. They do essentially cons, and they do this big con at the end where everybody's in on it except one guy. That's what's happening to ordinary Americans, and the other people in there are the government. It's all a giant con. We are being fleeced. We are being stolen from. And believe it or not, lefties, the only one who's telling the truth and the only one who's advocating for us is Donald Trump. Okay, I didn't get to Promethean Action. There's some great stuff. I'm going to try to do it tomorrow. Young people, if you're getting attracted by the siren song of leftism, you are right about the problem. The system is rigged. You are wrong about the how and the why and the path out. You are right. It is rigged. The system doesn't work because government has distorted everything. We don't have free markets. There's no free market in medicine. You're right. The people closest to the government who pay lobbyists and politicians, sometimes corruptly, they are getting better deals and stealing your money. You are correct. But the path out of that isn't the people like Bernie Sanders who have stuck themselves in like ticks to our government, getting rich over the last 30 years. That's not who's going to solve it. It's not communism. It's the American system. And the American system will bring about a much more free market. We'll get into that tomorrow. All right. This is The Ordinary American. Heavy P in the house. I'm your host, Paul Sarkis. Appreciate you being here. Please pass this on. Send it around to your kids, to your parents, to your cousins, nephews, workers. Let me do the dirty work. Don't you get in fights with them. They can get in fights with me. Send me your emails. TheOrdinaryAmerican@proton.me. Hit me up on X, TheOrdAmerican. You can always put comments in the chat. Come on in. Leftism doesn't work. We'll debate anybody because it doesn't work. It's all a lie and a scam. All right. Like, subscribe, and follow. We will see you tomorrow, 2 p.m., with more on the greatness of America. Pause. One quick thing. Tomorrow, I got to remember this, so I'm doing this as much for me. We are going to talk medicine. We're going to talk ivermectin. We haven't done that in a while. We're going to talk. I saw an oncologist I know this morning, and we talked for a few minutes. I'm going to try to relay that conversation. Bookmark for tomorrow. All right. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock. As the great Father Mike Schmidt says, I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. I'm rooting for you.